As a CIO, I think we have the same role as any other part of the executive in achieving all of our organisation's sustainability targets. We are the organisation power user basically, aren't we, in many ways? So we have to understand how can we reduce that? How can we find ways to do things differently? How can we make sure that every inch of the target that is there, we can help make be achievable?
The role of the CIO in actually achieving their sustainability targets is actually two aspects. First of all, they have a responsibility to invest in next generation technology that helps them to reduce their CO2 emissions as a technology organisation. The second aspect is give technology that allows insight for the business through data to understand their emissions and their sustainability goals that they've set.
CEOs can stop believing in magic and start working together.
This one's quite a challenging one to actually not only reduce the emissions, but also to be competitive at the same time. There is a direct link now, especially in certain industries like retail and CPG, where actually educating the consumer on what you're doing to reduce your carbon emissions, specifically what we call Scope 3, which is the supply chain, actually has huge benefits to you increasing revenue yield. The problem with it is the technologist has to build together all the data, and not all the data is available. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but if you get it right, it's a huge competitive advantage.
We've done all sorts of different things in the last 18 months in particular, ranging from how we look at the travel that's needed from our colleagues who are visiting stores as area managers, all the way through to turning tills off at night, which seems like a really weird thing, but when you've got 2,500 stores across the UK and Ireland, actually being able to power down the tills when the store closes and still power them up and still send new offers, new deals, new prices out to them in the morning, once the power's back up and everybody needs it again, is a really important part of some of the different things that we started to tackle. And I think one of the things that we have to do is, as we start to understand our targets around sustainability, our targets around emissions, we can use that as another reason why we have cost reductions. So ultimately, if you're using less power, if you're doing things in a better way, if you're being more efficient in how you deliver service, then you are both sharpening up the targets that you're trying to work with, the way you work with the organisation, but at the same time, you're making our organisation more sustainable. So whether that is how we run our store estate, or how we run .com and .ie, or whether it's different ways of doing development, doing it at different points from different shores across the world, and making sure that the sustainability of all parts of our business can come together to really glue and facilitate everybody's targets across our organisation.
The businesses that we work with understand that system-wide problems need system-wide solutions. And they also understand that collaborating to unlock the value of the dark data they already possess gives them the leverage to be able to not only deliver on their sustainability objectives, but also respond to the pressures that they're facing from their customers, who want to see that their actions reflect in reality and not just in shareholder statements. The way to really unlock these challenges is by understanding that so much of the information that you need to be able to build models that can help you trace, monitor, and deliver on your sustainability objectives are already in your gift. They're just trapped in dark data that you can't access today. We see successful projects coming forward with our clients where they are leaning into an understanding of that data and really using it to inform their decision making and the actions that they take.
I think a really good example of someone that has actually been working on this for a number of years is, first of all, Google, where we've got a 2030 commitment to being net zero across all of our business in our operations, which means not only ourselves but all of our suppliers. And the second one is Unilever. Unilever are actually working with Google to actually work on palm oil and looking at deforestation. And again, these have huge impacts to their business in a positive way when we resolve it, and we're on that journey.
One of the critical areas for collaboration for emissions reduction is in thinking about supply chains. understanding across the entire value chain, up and downstream of yourself, what is it that you need to do to be able to understand the footprint that you're creating in the manufacture of your product, in the shipping of your product, in the lifetime consumption of your product. And that kind of activity has to come through collaboration. Supply chains by their nature are made up of multiple players, many of whom today don't share information and data with each other in a way that helps that visibility to lead to real climate change action.
I think it's really important that technologists, CIOs across all parts of any business start to collaborate. We, as CIO of Boots, I don't have the answers to all the issues, all the ways of working, but collaborating with different retailers, suddenly you start to see different ways of working. What we've done is partner with different organisations that are not a competition to us. So Fortnum & Masons, the Met Police, making sure that we learn from them and we can share with them in a really safe, controlled manner the different ways that we're tackling sustainability targets and how we generally come together to be a better organisation.
So CIOs can collaborate not only with the business but with suppliers to actually reduce their emissions faster by understanding the strategy of their suppliers to them and the business suppliers, because it's easier working with suppliers that are already on the journey and are already reducing their emissions, and you can then get that benefit from working with them.
We burn the power, we deliver the solutions, we pull together the tin and wires that go into every part of our organisation. So to make that sustainable, we'll really truly make a difference across an organisation. So we've got 65,000 people working at Boots. Everybody in stores, in head office, in supply chain, in development, they all need technology to do their jobs. To make that sustainable from a net zero point of view, to ensure that truly what we do doesn't provide any more waste into any system, our systems and across the whole green belief system as well, is really truly important to us. And doing that, there's only us that can do that. There's only a CIO that can actually truly set the strategy and drive a difference across that agenda.
And insight is where we take the data that's available, either scope 1, scope 2 or scope 3, which is normal carbon gas emissions, and inherently give the insight to the business. To do that though, we have to consolidate all the data into a meaningful state, and that's the job of a technologist.
Technology is really important, but one of the things that gets forgotten is that technology only works if people change. Actually, cultural transformation is critical in being able to make the business decision making and the changes to those business processes that are required to really see action to be delivered.
One of the things that CIOs need to do is use the data that's at our fingertips to make sure that we can truly deliver a different way of considering green initiatives. So whether for us it's in store with the hygiene bank, or whether it's how we donate older technology into different charitable organisations, how do we support our local ecosystem? Boots is a famous Nottingham-based organisation, and therefore really reaching into our community to offer as much support so that we all drive together in how we achieve targets, how we become a sustainable ecosystem, a sustainable city, and ultimately a sustainable retailer.
Vision's all well and good, but the reality is what we need is action, and what we need is measurable and monitorable action, and that only comes when you start really to dig into the dark data that you are struggling to access today, whether that's in your own remit or whether that's across the supply chains and partnerships that you operate with.
The CIOs who want to use the data they have to underpin their strategy for the emission reduction, first of all have to understand the business is being built around optimising the revenue and the operational cost, not necessarily sustainability. They're going to need new data and they will then match it with old data. I would start with basically looking for your smallest amount of successes that you could have. Don't try to boil the ocean. And the second one is engage the business and actually work with them collaboratively to make sure you're answering questions they need answering.